The arena was old. It had seen blood for 1,000 years. The stone walls were dark with age, and the sand below had swallowed the lives of countless warriors. Today, 10,000 filled the seats. They came to watch death. They came to be entertained. High above the crowd, in a private balcony made of black stone and silver metal, Commander Lyra sat alone. She was tall, even for her kind. Her skin was pale blue, smooth like water under moonlight. Her eyes were silver, bright and sharp. Two small horns curved back from her forehead, hidden partly by her long white hair. She wore armor of dark metal, simple but strong. On her chest was the mark of the Empire, a circle with 3 lines through it. Lyra did not want to be here. She had seen many fights in this arena. They were all the same. Prisoners fought. Prisoners died. The crowd cheered. She found no joy in it anymore. But her father, the High General, had asked her to attend. A new species had been captured, he said. Humans. They were from a small planet far away at the edge of known space. Her father wanted her to see what they could do. So she sat and she waited, and she watched the empty sand below. The gates on the far side of the arena opened with a loud noise. The crowd grew quiet. From the darkness of the tunnel, guards pushed a single figure forward. He stumbled but did not fall. When he stepped into the light, Lyra leaned forward in her seat. He was human. He was not tall, he was not wide. His body was lean, built for speed rather than power. His skin was a warm brown and his hair was black and short. His face was dirty, marked with cuts and bruises. But his eyes were dark and calm. He looked around the arena slowly, studying everything. The walls, the gates, the crowd. He did not look afraid. His name was, he did not know how long he had been a prisoner. Days, weeks. Time had lost meaning in the dark cells below the arena. He remembered his ship. He remembered the attack. He remembered watching his crew die one by one. Now he was here, alone, standing in sand that smelled of old blood. They had taken everything from him, his tools, his weapons, even his boots. He stood barefoot in simple cloth pants and a torn shirt. The guards laughed as they closed the gate behind him. One of them shouted something in a language he did not understand. The crowd laughed too. Did not react. He breathed slowly, in through his nose, out through his mouth. He had trained for moments like this. Not exactly like this, but close enough. On Earth, he had been a soldier. Before that, a fighter. Before that, a boy who learned very young that the world was not kind to the weak. He was not weak. A second gate opened on the other side of the arena. The crowd roared with excitement, watched as 3 creatures walked out onto the sand. They were large, each one the size of a small car. Their bodies were covered in thick gray scales. They had 4 legs, short and powerful, and long tails that dragged behind them. Their heads were flat, with wide mouths full of teeth. Their eyes were small and red. Had never seen anything like them, but he understood what they were: predators, killers, and they were hungry. The creatures spread out, circling him slowly. They moved together like they had done this before. One stayed in front. The other 2 moved to his sides, turned in a slow circle, keeping all 3 in his sight. Up in her balcony, Lyra watched with new interest. Most prisoners screamed when they saw the beasts. Some ran. Some fell to their knees and begged. This human did none of those things. He stood still. He watched. He waited. "Interesting," she said softly. The first beast attacked. It was the one on his left. It rushed forward with speed that seemed wrong for something so big. Its mouth opened wide, showing rows of sharp teeth. Moved. He did not run away. He ran toward it. At the last moment, he jumped to the side. The beast's jaws snapped shut on empty air, landed and rolled, coming up on his feet in one smooth motion. The crowd gasped. The second beast came from behind, heard it coming. He dropped low and spun, letting the creature pass over him. Its claws caught his shirt and tore it, but did not touch his skin. He was up again before it could turn. The third beast was smarter. It waited. It watched it too. For a moment nothing moved. The crowd was silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. Lyra found herself holding her breath. She had seen many warriors in her life. She had led armies into battle. She knew strength when she saw it, but this was different. This human had no armor, no weapons. He was facing 3 killing machines with nothing but his body and his mind, and he was not afraid. No, that was not right. She looked closer at his face. He was afraid. She could see it in the tightness around his eyes and the way his jaw was set. He was afraid, but he did not let the fear control him. He used it. He turned it into focus, into power. The third beast attacked. It was faster than the others, barely moved in time. Its claws caught his arm and drew blood, red blood. It ran down his skin and dripped onto the sand. Looked at his wound, then he looked at the beast, and he smiled. The crowd went mad. They had never seen a prisoner smile in the arena. They did not understand it, but Lyra did. She understood exactly what that smile meant. It meant the human was just getting started. The 3 beasts circled again. They were more careful now. They had expected easy meat. They had not expected this. The human was fast. The human was smart. The human was dangerous. Wiped the blood from his arm. He was thinking, always thinking. The beasts were strong, but they were not intelligent. They worked together by instinct, not by plan. If he could break their pattern, he could create openings. If he could create openings, he could survive. Survival, that was all that mattered now. Not revenge, not escape, just survival, one moment at a time, one breath at a time. He looked up at the crowd. He looked at the high balconies where the rich and powerful sat. His eyes found a figure in dark armor watching him with silver eyes. A woman. No, not a woman, something else, but female and beautiful in a strange and cold way. Their eyes met, just for a moment, saw something in her gaze, not hate, not disgust, something else, something like respect. Then the beasts attacked again, and there was no more time for looking. Lyra sat back in her chair. Her heart was beating faster than before. She did not know why. She had watched 1,000 fights in this arena. None of them had made her feel this way. She looked at the human below, fighting for his life against impossible odds. She looked at his bare hands, red with blood. She looked at his dark eyes full of fire. And she knew, with a certainty that surprised her, that she had to have him. Not as a slave, not as a toy, as something more, something she could not yet name. The fight was just beginning, but in her mind the decision was already made. The sand was hot under his bare feet. The sun of this alien world burned down on the arena, and sweat ran down his face. Blood still dripped from the wound on his arm, leaving small dark spots on the ground wherever he moved. The 3 beasts circled him like sharks in water, waiting for the right moment to strike. Breath he counted, he watched. The beasts had a pattern, he had seen it now. The one in front would move first, drawing attention. Then the ones on the sides would attack together. It was simple. It was effective. It had probably killed many prisoners before him, but was not like other prisoners. He had grown up in a small town in Korea. His father had been a fisherman. His mother had worked in a factory. They had not been rich. They had not been important, but they had taught him one thing that mattered more than money or power: never give up. No matter how hard life becomes, keep fighting, keep moving, keep breathing. He had carried those words with him through military training, through the pain and the fear and the doubt, through the long nights in space, far from Earth, far from everything he knew. And now, standing in an alien arena with nothing but his bare hands, he carried them still. The front beast growled low in its throat, its red eyes fixed on, its muscles tensed. Here it comes, thought. The beast charged, but this time did not wait. He ran forward to meet it. The beast opened its mouth, expecting easy meat, dropped at the last second, sliding on the sand beneath its jaw. As he passed under it, he struck upward with his elbow, hitting the soft spot where the beast's neck met its body. The creature made a sound of pain and stumbled. It was not hurt badly, but it was surprised, and surprise created openings. Was already moving. He rolled to his feet and turned. The two side beasts had expected him to run away, not toward their leader. They hesitated for just a moment. A moment was all needed. He grabbed a handful of sand and threw it at the eyes of the beast on his left. The creature roared and shook its head, blinded temporarily. Used the distraction to run, not away from the beasts but toward the arena wall. The crowd watched in confusion. What was the human doing? Was he trying to climb out? Impossible. The walls were too high, too smooth. Lyra leaned forward in her seat again. She understood. The human was not trying to escape. He was changing the battlefield. In the open sand, the beasts had the advantage. They could surround him, attack from all sides, but near the wall he could protect his back. He could control the space. Smart, she whispered, very smart. Reached the wall and turned. His back pressed against the cold stone. The three beasts approached slowly now, more careful than before. They spread out in a half circle, blocking any escape. But escape was not what wanted. The beast on the right attacked first. It lunged forward, jaws wide, waited until the last moment, then stepped to the side. The beast's head slammed into the wall with a loud crack. Stone chips flew. The creature stumbled back, dazed. Before it could recover, jumped onto its back. The beast roared and tried to shake him off, but held tight. He wrapped his arms around its thick neck and squeezed. His muscles burned. His wounded arm screamed in pain, but he did not let go. The second beast, the one he had blinded with sand, charged toward him. It could not see well, but it could hear. It could smell. It knew where he was. Waited, he counted the steps. 3, 2, 1. He released his hold and jumped off the first beast's back. The blinded beast crashed into its companion. The two creatures went down in a tangle of scales and teeth and claws. They bit at each other by accident, too confused to know what was happening. The crowd exploded with noise. They had never seen anything like this. A prisoner, unarmed, was making the arena beasts fight each other. It was impossible. It was amazing. Up in the noble boxes, other leaders were watching now. They pointed at the human below and spoke in quick, excited voices. Who was this creature? Where did he come from? How was he doing this? Lyra heard them, but she did not turn to look. Her eyes were fixed on his movements, on his face. He was bleeding from more than one wound now. His shirt was torn. His body was covered in sand and sweat and blood. But his eyes were still clear, still focused, still burning with that strange, beautiful fire. She had seen many warriors in her long life, strong warriors, skilled warriors, but none of them had moved like this human. None of them had thought like him. He did not fight with power. He fought with his mind. He used everything around him, the sand, the walls, even the beasts themselves, as weapons. It was like watching a dance, a deadly, beautiful dance. The third beast, the one that had stayed back and watched, finally moved. It was the largest of the three, and it had learned from watching its companions fail. It would not make the same mistakes. It circled wide, staying away from the wall. It watched the human with those small red eyes, waiting for the right moment. Watched it too. He knew this one was different. He knew this one would not be fooled by simple tricks. The two tangled beasts had separated now. One was hurt, blood running from a bite wound on its shoulder. The other was still shaking its head, trying to clear its vision. They would attack again soon. Did not have much time. He made a decision. He pushed off from the wall and ran straight at the largest beast. The creature was surprised. It had expected the human to stay defensive, to protect his back. It had not expected aggression. Screamed as he ran, a loud, wild sound that came from deep in his chest. It was the scream of a human pushed to his limit, the scream of someone who had nothing left to lose. The beast hesitated, just for a heartbeat, just long enough. Dove and rolled between its front legs. As he passed underneath, he grabbed one of its legs and pulled with all his strength. The beast, already off balance from its hesitation, stumbled. Its front legs folded. Its head hit the sand. was on his feet again in an instant. He jumped onto the beast's head and brought his elbow down hard on the base of its skull. Once, twice, 3 times, the creature's body shook, its legs kicked, then it went still. The crowd fell silent, complete silence. 10,000 stared at the arena in disbelief. A human, an unarmed human, had just killed one of the beasts. Lyra stood up from her chair. She did not realize she had done it. Her heart was pounding. Her silver eyes were wide. In all her years, she had never seen anything like this. The human stood over the dead beast, breathing hard. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. His arms hung at his sides. He looked exhausted, but when he raised his head and looked up at the crowd, there was no defeat in his eyes. There was only defiance. The 2 remaining beasts circled at a distance. They were confused, scared even. The smell of their dead companion filled the arena. They had never lost before. They did not know what to do. Turned to face them, he raised his fists, his bloody, broken fists. "Come on," he said. His voice was rough and tired but loud enough to carry across the silent arena. "Come on, I'm still here." He did not know if they understood his words, but they understood his meaning. The challenge was clear. Lyra felt something in her chest, a warmth she had not felt in a very long time. She did not know if it was admiration or desire or something else entirely. She only knew that she could not look away from this human, this warrior who fought with nothing and feared nothing. She had to know more about him. She had to understand what made humans like this. What made them fight when any other species would surrender? What made them smile in the face of death? The remaining beasts backed away slowly. They had lost their courage. They would not attack again unless forced. But the crowd wanted more blood. They began to shout, to throw things, to demand that the fight continue. Stood in the center of the arena, alone and bleeding, and waited for whatever came next. And in her balcony high above, Commander Lyra made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. The crowd was angry. They had paid to see death. They had paid to see blood. One dead beast was not enough. They wanted more. They always wanted more. The arena master, a fat with golden chains around his neck, stepped onto a raised platform. He raised his hands for silence. The crowd quieted, but only a little. "The human has shown strength," the arena master announced. His voice was loud, carried by speakers hidden in the walls. "But the games are not over. Release the hunters." A new gate opened. This time 4 soldiers walked onto the sand. They were tall and strong, their blue skin marked with scars from many battles. They wore light armor and carried long spears with sharp metal points. These were not beasts acting on instinct. These were trained killers. Watch them come. His body was screaming at him to stop, to rest, to give up. The wound on his arm had not stopped bleeding. New cuts covered his chest and back from the fight with the beasts. Every breath hurt. Every movement was pain. But he did not stop. He could not stop. If he stopped, he died. The 4 hunters spread out across the arena. They moved slowly, professionally. They had done this before. The 2 remaining beasts backed away to the edges, leaving the sand to the soldiers. This was a different kind of hunt now. One of the hunters spoke to in the language. Did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. The soldier was mocking him, laughing at the small, wounded human who thought he could fight. Said nothing. He saved his breath for what was coming. The first hunter attacked. He was fast, faster than the beasts had been. His spear shot forward like a snake, aimed at its heart, twisted away, feeling the metal pass close to his skin. He grabbed the shaft of the spear and pulled hard. The hunter was surprised but strong. He did not let go, had expected this. He used the hunter's resistance against him, pulling himself forward instead of pulling the spear back. His forehead crashed into the hunter's face with a sickening crack. The stumbled back, blue blood running from his broken nose, ripped the spear from his weakened grip and spun to face the others. Now he had a weapon. Up in her balcony, Lyra laughed. It was a soft sound, surprised out of her before she could stop it. Other nobles looked at her strangely, but she did not care. The human had done it again. He had taken nothing and turned it into something. He had taken a disadvantage and made it an advantage. The three remaining hunters were more careful now. They circled the human, keeping their distance. They had seen what happened to their companion. They would not make the same mistake. But did not wait for them to decide. He attacked. He ran at the hunter on his left, spear raised. The hunter lifted his own spear to block, but at the last moment threw his spear, not at the hunter, but at the ground near his feet. The looked down in confusion for just a second, dropped low and swept the hunter's legs out from under him. The soldier fell hard, his spear flying from his hand, grabbed it before it hit the ground and drove it down into the hunter's shoulder, pinning him to the sand. 2 down, 2 left. The crowd had changed now. They were no longer shouting for blood. They were watching in stunned silence. Some had begun to cheer, not for the hunters but for the human. This had never happened before. Prisoners were supposed to die quickly and quietly. They were not supposed to win. Pulled the spear free and turned to face the remaining hunters. His chest heaved with each breath. Sweat and blood mixed on his skin. But there was a light in his dark eyes that had not been there before. The light of someone who had found something worth fighting for. Not victory, not even survival, something else, something deeper. He was fighting because it was all he knew how to do, because giving up was not in his nature, because somewhere in the darkest part of his mind he still believed he might see Earth again, see the mountains, see the sea, see the faces of people he had loved. The 2 remaining hunters looked at each other. They did not speak, but something passed between them, an understanding. This human was dangerous. They would have to work together to bring him down. They attacked at the same time from opposite sides, spears flashing in the sunlight, feet kicking up sand. It was a coordinated assault, practiced and precise. Could not block both, he knew this, so he made a choice. He let one spear hit him. The point caught him in the side, slicing through flesh and muscle. Pain exploded through his body, hot and sharp and terrible, but he did not scream. He used the pain, he let it fill him with fire. His hand caught the shaft of the spear that had wounded him. He pulled the hunter toward him, off balance, and drove his own spear into the soldier's chest. The made a surprised sound and fell. 3 down, 1 left. But was hurt badly now. Blood poured from the wound in his side. His vision was starting to blur. His legs felt weak. He had maybe a minute left before his body gave out. The last hunter saw this. He smiled. He could wait. He could let the human bleed out. No need to take risks. Saw the smile. He understood what it meant, and he refused to accept it. He threw his spear. It was not a good throw. His arm was weak. His aim was off. The hunter easily knocked it aside with his own weapon, but that was not the point. The throw was a distraction. Was already running, already closing the distance. The hunter raised his spear to strike, but was inside his reach now, too close for the long weapon to be useful. They crashed together and fell to the sand, rolling, fighting, struggling for control. The hunter was bigger, stronger, healthier, but was desperate, and desperate humans were the most dangerous creatures in the universe. They fought in the sand like animals, punching, biting, clawing. There was no skill now, no technique, just 2 beings trying to kill each other with their bare hands. His fingers found the hunter's throat. He squeezed, the clawed at his hands, leaving deep scratches. Blue blood mixed with red in the sand. The hunter's eyes began to bulge. His movements grew weaker. Then finally they stopped. Let go. He rolled off the dead hunter and lay on his back in the sand, staring up at the alien sky. His chest rose and fell rapidly. Blood pooled beneath him. He could feel his life slipping away. But he had won. The arena was completely silent. 10,000 stared at the impossible scene below. A human, One human had defeated 3 beasts and 4 hunters, unarmed, alone. Then the cheering started, soft at first, then louder, louder, until the entire arena shook with the sound. They were cheering for the human, for the impossible warrior who would not die. Lyra stood at the edge of her balcony, gripping the railing with both hands. Her silver eyes were wet. She did not know why. She did not cry. She had not cried since she was a child. But something about this human, this broken and bloody warrior lying in the sand, had touched something inside her that she thought was dead. He was beautiful, not in the way valued beauty, perfect skin, sharp features, elegant form. He was beautiful in a different way, a primal way. The way a storm is beautiful, or a fire, or the last light of a dying star. She had to have him. The thought was not a choice anymore. It was a need, a hunger. Below, medics were running onto the sand. They would try to save the human. He was too valuable now to let die. The crowd would riot if he died before they could see him fight again. But Lyra did not want him to fight again. She did not want to see him hurt. She wanted to take him away from this place, to heal him, to keep him. She turned and walked toward the door of her balcony. She had a visit to make, a price to pay, a warrior to claim. In the sand below, his eyes closed. He had given everything he had. Now all he could do was hope it was enough. His last thought before darkness took him was of a woman with silver eyes, watching him from above, looking at him like he was something precious, something worth saving. 3 days passed, 3 days of fever and pain and darkness, 3 days of medics working to keep alive. He woke in a small room with stone walls. Not a cell, there were no bars, no chains, a bed with clean sheets, a window that looked out onto a garden filled with strange plants, water in a cup beside him, food on a plate. He sat up slowly. His body screamed in protest. Bandages covered his chest, his arms, his side. The wound from the spear was the worst. He could feel the stitches pulling when he moved, but he was alive. Somehow, against all odds, he was alive. The door opened. A woman entered. She was small for her kind, with dark blue skin and gentle eyes. She carried a tray with medicine and fresh bandages. "You wake," she said in broken but understandable words. She must have learned his language somehow. "Good, Commander waits, many days now." "Commander?" His voice was rough from days without use. "What commander?" The small woman smiled but did not answer. She changed his bandages with careful hands, gave him medicine that tasted bitter, and left food for him to eat. Then she was gone, leaving alone with his questions. He ate because he needed strength. He drank because he was thirsty. And when he felt strong enough to stand, he walked to the window and looked out at the alien garden. Where was he? Why was he not in a cell? Why was someone taking care of him? The door opened again. This time, a different figure entered. Lyra. She wore no armor today, just simple clothes of dark fabric that showed the elegant lines of her body. Her white hair was loose, falling past her shoulders. Her silver eyes found his immediately. Recognized her, the woman from the balcony, the one who had watched him fight with that strange, hungry look in her eyes. "You are awake," she said. Her voice was soft, almost warm. "I was beginning to worry." Said nothing. He watched her carefully the way he had watched the beasts in the arena, looking for threats, looking for weaknesses. Lyra smiled. It was a small smile, barely there. "You do not trust me, good. You should not trust anyone here, but I am not your enemy, human." "What do you want?" asked. His voice was stronger now. "Many things," Lyra said. She walked to the window and stood beside him, looking out at the garden. "But first I want to understand. How did you do it? In the arena? How did you fight like that?" Was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "I did not want to die." Lyra turned to look at him. Many prisoners do not want to die. They all die anyway. "Maybe they give up," said. "Maybe they think this is impossible, so why try? But I do not think that way. Nothing is impossible. There is always a way, always a chance, even if that chance is very small. Lyra studied his face. The cuts and bruises were healing, but scars would remain, marks of his battle, marks of his survival. "You are strange," she said. "Your species is strange. I have read reports about humans, your planet, your history. You fight each other constantly. Wars, conflicts, violence. You should have destroyed yourselves long ago, but you did not. Instead, you grew stronger. You reached the stars." She paused. Why? Thought about the question. It was a good question, one he had never really considered before. "Because we do not know how to quit," he said finally. "It is not in our nature. When things are hard, we fight harder. When we fall, we get up. When we fail, we try again. It is who we are." Lyra nodded slowly. "I have lived for 200 years, she said. "I have seen many species, many warriors. None of them are like you. None of them have that fire." She reached out and touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his skin, did not pull away. "You should hate me," she said. "My people took you from your ship. My people put you in that arena. My people tried to kill you." "Yes," agreed, "they did. But you do not hate me." It was not a question. "Hate takes energy," said. "I need my energy for other things." Lyra laughed. It was a real laugh, full and warm. "You are funny, human. I did not expect that." "My name is—" She repeated. The name sounded strange in her accent, but not unpleasant. "I am Lyra, commander of the 4th Fleet, daughter of the High General." She paused. "And I have bought your freedom." Stared at her. "What?" "You are no longer a slave of the arena," Lyra said. "I paid your price. The arena master was not happy, but he had no choice. I outrank him by several levels." "Why?" asked. "Why would you do that?" Lyra turned back to the window. For a moment she did not speak. When she did, her voice was different, softer, more honest. "Because when I watched you fight, I felt something I have not felt in a very long time. I do not know what to call it. Interest, perhaps. Respect. Desire." She looked at him. "I want to know more about you. I want to understand what makes you different, and I could not do that if you died in the arena." Did not know what to say. This was not what he had expected. He had expected death or slavery or both. Not this. Not freedom. Not kindness from an alien commander with silver eyes. "I do not know your customs," he said carefully. "I do not know what you expect from me in return." "I expect nothing," Lyra said. "You owe me nothing. I did not buy your freedom so that you would owe me. I bought it because—" She stopped. "Because I could not bear to watch you die, and I do not understand why." Silence filled the room. Outside, strange birds sang in the alien garden. "In my culture," said slowly, "there is a word. It means a connection between people, something like fate, the idea that some meetings are meant to happen." Lyra looked at him with those silver eyes. "Do you believe in fate?" "I do not know," admitted. "But I believe that some things happen for a reason. You were in that arena, you saw me fight. You chose to save me. Perhaps that means something. Perhaps it means nothing, but I am grateful either way." He bowed, not mockingly like he had in the arena, but deeply, respectfully in the traditional way of his homeland. When he rose, Lyra was smiling again, that small, barely there smile. "You are welcome to stay here," she said, "to heal, to rest. When you are ready, we can talk about what comes next. I will not force you to do anything, but I hope—" She hesitated. "I hope you will choose to stay with me, not as a slave, not as a servant, as something else." "As what?" asked. Lyra reached out and took his hand. Her blue fingers wrapped around his brown ones. Different colors, different worlds, but the touch felt right. "I do not know yet," she said, "but I want to find out." She left him then, alone with his thoughts and the alien garden and a future he could never have imagined. Sat down on the bed. His wounds ached. His body was tired. But for the first time since his capture, he did not feel afraid. He thought of Lyra's silver eyes, of her cool touch, of the way she had said his name. He thought of fate, of two people from different worlds, connected by blood and battle and something that had no name. And he smiled. Not the wild, defiant smile of the arena, but something softer, something new. Whatever came next, he would face it, not as a prisoner, not as a slave. As himself, as a human who did not know how to quit. And maybe, just maybe, as something more. 1 month passed, healed. The wounds closed and became scars. The pain faded to memory. But he did not forget what had happened in the arena. He would never forget. He spent his days in the garden exercising his body back to strength. He ran. He stretched. He practiced the fighting techniques he had learned on Earth long ago. The servants watched him with curious eyes, but they did not bother him. Lyra had given orders. The human was to be left alone unless he asked for help. Lyra visited him often. Sometimes they talked for hours. She told him about her world, the Empire, about the wars they had fought, about the species they had conquered, about her father, the High General who valued strength above all else. Told her about Earth, about the blue oceans and green mountains, about the cities filled with millions of people, about the wars humans had fought against each other and how they had finally come together to reach the stars. They were from different worlds, different species, different in almost every way, but as the days passed, found himself looking forward to her visits, to her soft voice and silver eyes, to the way she listened to him, really listened as if his words mattered. He was falling for her, he knew it, he did not fight it. One evening, Lyra came to him with news. "My father wants to meet you," she said. Her voice was careful, controlled. "He has heard about what you did in the arena. He wants to see this human who defeated 3 beasts and 4 hunters with his bare hands." Looked at her. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? "I do not know," Lyra admitted. "My father is difficult. He respects strength, but he does not trust other species, especially species he has never encountered before." "What do you want me to do?" Lyra was quiet for a moment, then she spoke. "I want you to be yourself. Do not bow to him. Do not show fear. Show him what I saw in the arena. Show him the fire that burns inside you." Nodded, "And if he decides I am a threat, if he orders me killed?" Lyra's silver eyes went hard. "He will not. I will not allow it." There was something in her voice, something fierce and protective, something that made his heart beat faster. "You would stand against your own father for me?" he asked. "Yes," Lyra said simply, "I would." The next day, they went to the palace. It was a massive building made of black stone and silver metal. Guards stood at every door, armed with weapons did not recognize. Servants moved through the halls like ghosts, silent and invisible. Everything was clean and cold and perfect. The throne room was at the center of the palace. A high ceiling, walls covered with paintings of battles and victories, and at the far end, on a throne of dark metal, sat the High General. He was old, older than Lyra had described. His blue skin was lined with age and his horns were long and twisted, but his eyes were sharp, sharp and cruel. So the High General said as approached, "This is the human." Did not bow. He stood straight and met the old man's gaze directly. "Yes," he said, "I am." The High General studied him for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You have courage, human, or perhaps you are simply stupid. Most prisoners who stand before me cannot even look at my face. They tremble, they beg, but you," he leaned forward, "you look at me like we are equals." "We are," said. The room went silent. Guards reached for their weapons. Advisors exchanged nervous glances. Even Lyra tensed beside him. But did not move, did not blink, did not look away. "You are either very brave or very foolish," the High General said slowly. "Perhaps both. My daughter tells me you killed 7 of our finest warriors with nothing but your hands. Is this true?" 3 beasts and 4 hunters, said. They had weapons, I did not, but yes, it is true. Why did you not surrender? You must have known you could not win. Thought about the question. The same question Lyra had asked him. The same question he had asked himself many times. Because surrender is death, he said finally. Maybe not death of the body, but death of something else, something more important. Humans have a word for it: pride, honor, the belief that some things are worth fighting for even when you cannot win. The High General was silent. His sharp eyes studied like he was a puzzle to be solved. You interest me, human, he said at last. My daughter has asked to keep you, to make you her personal guard. Normally, I would refuse. We do not give power to other species, but you are different. I saw the recordings of your fight. I have never seen anything like it. He stood from his throne and walked down the steps toward. He was taller up close, larger, but did not step back. I will allow this, the High General said. You will serve my daughter, you will protect her with your life, and in return you will have your freedom. You will be treated as her equal, not as a slave. His eyes narrowed. But know this, human, if you ever betray her, if you ever harm her, I will make your death last for 1,000 years. Do you understand? I understand, said, but you should know something too. And what is that? Looked at Lyra, at her silver eyes watching him with something that might have been fear, or hope, or love. I would die before I let anyone hurt her, he said. Not because you ordered me to, not because I owe her my freedom, but because I choose to, because she saw something in me that no one else saw, because she saved me when she had no reason to. He turned back to the High General. That is what humans do. We protect the people we care about, no matter the cost. The High General stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he smiled. Perhaps, he said, I have underestimated your species. He turned and walked back to his throne. The ceremony will be tomorrow. My daughter will formally claim you as her guardian. You will swear loyalty to her and she will swear protection to you. It is our most sacred bond. He sat down. Do not disappoint me, human. My name is, he said. The High General raised an eyebrow. What? My name, it is not human. Another silence. Then the High General laughed again. This time it sounded almost genuine. He repeated, very well, do not disappoint me. The audience was over. Guards escorted them from the throne room. But in the hallway outside, Lyra grabbed his hand and pulled him into a quiet corner. You spoke to my father like that, she said. Her voice was shaking. Do you have any idea how dangerous that was? Yes, said, but I meant every word. Lyra looked at him. Her silver eyes were wet with unshed tears. When you said you would die for me. I meant it, said. He reached up and touched her face the same way she had touched his a month ago. I do not know what this is between us. I do not know if it has a name, but I know I have never felt it before, not with anyone. Lyra closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her blue cheek. In my culture, she whispered, there is no word for love between different species. It is not supposed to exist, but I think, she opened her eyes, I think you have given me something I never had, a reason to feel. Smiled, that soft, new smile that had been born in this place with this woman. Then perhaps we will create new words, he said, together. Lyra leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. It was a gesture of intimacy among her people, a promise of trust. Together, she repeated. Outside, the alien sun was setting, painting the sky in colors had never seen on Earth, strange and beautiful and new. He had come to this world as a prisoner, a slave, a dead man walking. Now he stood beside a commander of the empire, not as a servant, not as a guard, but as her equal, her partner, her chosen. He did not know what the future held. He did not know if he would ever see Earth again. But for the first time since leaving his home, he did not feel lost. He had found something worth fighting for, something worth living for. And that, he realized, was enough. She had watched him battle unarmed. She had seen the warrior in him when no one else could, and now, finally, he was hers. And she was his. The story was just beginning.